Hello and welcome to SportsZone. Coming to you live from the UNT studios, I'm your host, Eric Chiofalo. As always, today's show will have our 5-minute drill and our Mean Green report. We're also going to talk about Tony Romo and try to figure out what team he will be suiting up for next season. But with the NBA trade deadline less than 24 hours away, we got to start off on the hardwood with Kennedy Miller and Jackson Donovan. Now, at this point, we obviously know that DeMarcus Cousins has been traded to the New Orleans Pelicans, and we actually have footage of him finding out in real time of the news that he got traded over All-Star Weekend. So let's show that.
Can you kind of sum up your All-Star experience and?
Oh, really?
Can you?
That's whatever.
Can you sum up your All-Star experience? What it was like for all the great players?
It was amazing, man. I enjoyed the city of New Orleans. I love it here in New Orleans.
Interesting way to find out about a total career change, really, at this point. So again, Jackson and Kennedy with us. Fellas, what did you make of this trade from Sacramento to New Orleans?
Well, I loved it. I loved it from both sides, from the Kings side and from the Pelicans side. The Pelicans, they needed to show that Anthony Davis that they want him there for the long term and that they want to pursue a championship and have playoff success. They did that by acquiring DeMarcus Cousins, who is a top 10 talent in the NBA. On the Kings' perspective, they got a first-round pick, already keeping their own first-round pick, so they have 2 first-round picks in a draft class that a lot of scouts have said is loaded. They're trying to build for the future, and they're trying to start fresh. There's none other way to start fresh than with some nice draft picks.
The one thing I like that the Kings have been able to do is with this trade with the Pelicans, they've been able to shore up their backcourt already. They have plenty of depth when it comes to the guards now. So going into the draft, they have 2 first-round picks that they can buckle down and go after a nice power forward to replace Cousins or go after another center. To me, though, it's completely disrespectful how they handled it, how he got traded. I feel bad for Cousins.
Definitely.
But he has completely shored up his image with the way he's been able to handle this. He cried in a press conference whenever he was leaving Sacramento. To me, the way he's been able to handle this just shows great. To me, as a basketball fan, I have pride in the way he's been able to handle this. I think New Orleans has got a great end of this deal.
Yeah, so like looking at this season for New Orleans, is this going to make them a playoff team? And moving forward, do you see them being one of the perennial teams in the West?
Well, they're 2.5 games behind for the 8th seed. So I think when you pair those two, Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, although they haven't picked up a ball yet, you can already make the assumption that given their age, being DeMarcus Cousins 26 years old, Anthony Davis at 23, that they could be the best big man duo ever already before they pick up a ball. So I think that they can get to that 8th seed, and then obviously they'll run up against the Golden State Warriors, who I think will beat them in about 5 games, maybe 6 if the Warriors are sleeping one game. But that's as far as I can see for that team for this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when it comes to this year, the best they can do is maybe the 7, maybe creep up to a 6 spot. But with what they gave up in this trade, giving up Buddy Hield, I don't think they'll have the forwards. You have Drew Holiday, who can run the court and be able to facilitate between Cousins and Anthony. But I just don't think they have the depth in their backcourt to be able to go after a team like if they get the 7 seed Houston, or if they go up against the Jazz, or if they go up against Golden State. I don't think they have the depth to be able to stay with those teams and run with them and be able to wear them down.
All right, well, let's look at Houston because they just acquired Lou Williams over from the Lakers. What did you make of that move? How does that set up the Rockets for the rest of this season?
Well, it shows that ownership is trying to get to the finals and win a championship this year. They gave away a first-round pick. They got Lou Williams, so now they've got the top 2 scorers coming off the bench on the same team with Lou Williams and Eric Gordon. You're surrounding James Harden with prolific shooters and scorers and all of these guys who can do all these different things to challenge the Golden States of the world, to challenge the San Antonio Spurs of the world. And it's already showed because they've beaten both of those teams already this year. They're trying to make a championship run. They're not done yet. They're trying to go after Wilson Chandler before tomorrow's trade deadline at 2:00 p.m.
I think the one thing that Houston still has to do, they have to be able to get themselves a big man. They do. They have the depth in the backcourt where they can run with Golden State, wear them down. But again, if they put themselves in that situation where they have to win at home and then hopefully win a game on the road to secure a series, I don't think they have the depth to be able to do it. They have to be able to get themselves a big man. One of the things I've heard through the trade rumors is they've actually been looking at Tyson Chandler as some depth to be able to add a big man like that, and that'll really help them on the boards. And if they can do that, they could put someone paired up against Zaza or put someone up against, Draymond Green with Golden State and be able to keep up with them. But until they can do that, I don't think their speed will be able to overpower Golden State.
All right, quickly here, do we anticipate any blockbuster deals before the deadline tomorrow?
Well, I hope Jimmy Butler gets dealt to Boston or wherever else people are trying to pry him away from Chicago. I think it's a toxic organization for him. I don't think he deserves to be under that type of organization. I think if you go to Boston, that automatically puts them above the Washington Wizards in terms of teams that the Cleveland Cavaliers will meet in the Eastern Conference Finals. I also heard that Paul George might go to the Lakers. They're trying to get him as we speak. So Magic Johnson is trying to work some magic in La La Land. So I hope those two trades go down.
I'm going to take another look at the Bulls. I mean, if there's any team that can give up a superstar player and still be okay, it's Chicago. They can give up someone like Jimmy Butler, and they will have Dwayne Wade, who they picked up in the offseason, to be able to hold them down to where all the fans don't go into that mindset, great, we're tanking, we're going to lose the season now. They'll be able to have someone like Dwayne Wade who can keep them focused and win the season for them.
Gotcha. All right, well, the trade deadline is tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern, so we'll see if any more moves get made. But coming up next, we will have our Mean Green Report. Stay tuned.
The Mean Green's women's soccer program has become one of the most successful sports teams in school history. With 3 Conference USA regular season championships in the past 3 years, this group looks poised to make it 4 in a row. So how has the program reached such dominance in the recent era? Well, a lot of that credit should go to head coach John Hedlund, who in his 22 seasons since being at the helm of the program, UNT has never had a losing season and has captured 12 conference titles. Earlier this month, UNT recognized Hedlund's model of excellence, signing him to a 5-year contract extension through the 2021 season. This is some bad news for other contenders in the conference, but a sign of continued success for the Lady Mean Green.
Since the beginning of its existence, the North Texas women's soccer team has become an ideal model of how to build a soccer program. The team has never had a losing season in its 22-year existence, and behind all the success starts with a great coach. A coach who has been nationally recognized and one who just signed an extension to keep him at UNT till 2021.
John Hedlund has established himself into one of the great coaches in the Central region and has also molded the Mean Green women's soccer team into one of the nation's most elite. Hedlund is the only head coach in the program's history and has led the team to 12 conference titles. He has also never had a losing record in his 22 seasons at the University of North Texas. They have also won the past 3 Conference USA regular season titles. Hedlund has a career record of 314 wins, 120 losses, and 24 ties, giving him a .710 winning percentage. Hedlund has also led the Mean Green to 4 NCAA tournaments in 2004, 2005, 2012, and 2015. In a marvelous career, Hedlund has been named Sun Belt Coach of the Year 3 times, has also been named Coach of the Year by the Dallas Morning News and the Greater Denton Sports Commission. Hedlund told the Denton Record Chronicle that he was happy that him and Ren Baker were able to agree on a contract to keep him here till 2021.
Hedlund is credited with starting the program from scratch and has been an effective recruiter in the Lone Star State, bringing in some of the best soccer players in Texas to play for the Mean Green throughout the years. 5 of his former players have been inducted into the North Texas Athletic Hall of Fame. With all the success in his past, Hedlund looks to the future, telling the Denton Record Chronicle, "As coaches, we are all measured by the success and product we put on the field year in and year out." On August 19, 2016, Hedlund became the 20th NCAA Division I women's soccer coach to reach 300 career victories when the team beat Incarnate Word 4-0. Hedlund has become the winningest coach in any sport in the history of North Texas athletics. Athletic Director Ren Baker told the Denton Record Chronicle, "With solidified long-term leadership, the future is brighter than ever for our women's soccer program."
Now, coming off a 15-5-1 season in which they captured yet another Conference USA regular season title, the Mean Green are favorites yet again to repeat. And with Hedlund sticking around for the next 5 years, there seems to be many more wins and titles to come. He has been a model of consistency for the Mean Green sports, and it looks like he won't be leaving anytime soon, which means more wins for the Mean Green. Coming up after the break, Jocelyn Mitchell and Josh Conrad will be discussing the future of the Dallas Cowboys and Tony Romo.
Welcome back inside the North Texas studios. It is time to bring on Jocelyn Mitchell and Josh Conrad to talk some Dallas Cowboys and some Tony Romo. Now, reports last week came out that it looks like the Cowboys are probably just going to end up releasing Tony Romo. Now, that leaves it open to where he might go. Now, what are you guys thinking? There's been reports of about 4 or 5 different teams that are possible landing spots. What are you guys thinking?
I think that that'll be a good idea for them to release him out of respect, because it's not that he's just a bad player, it's just that he's injury prone. I think Houston will be a good candidate, even though, yeah, they do have a big contract with Brock Osweiler, but he wasn't satisfactory. And they even benched him from Tom Savage. And so if they're willing to bench him for their backup, imagine what they'll be willing to do if they accept Tony Romo, a healthy Tony Romo.
And they won't have to take on that contract since he got released, right?
Yes.
But who wants to go to Houston? Nobody
well.
willingly wants to go to Houston. Denver makes the most sense. Everybody wants to go to Denver. Nice weather. You can go skiing when you're off.
Well, it's cold. It's cold in the
It's
wintertime.
cold.
Very.
There's
forget about the
other
mountains now.
advantages you can take care of that we
All
can't
right.
mention on NTTV. But
I don't know
Denver.
if Romo delves into those. I don't know if he does.
you've got the defense. You've got the Peyton Manning effect. Who doesn't want to go in there, hand the ball off a lot? Demaryius Thomas. You have Emmanuel Sanders. They have cap space. John Elway's the quarterback whisperer. Bring him in. And also, Denver right now has Trevor Siemian.
Yes.
He is not an NFL quarterback
No.
at all. It's a shame that they have to deal with him. They went 9-7 this year. You bring Tony Romo in, that is a team that can take down New England. That's a team that can win the Super Bowl next
I
year.
think that's a big point in most of the top teams is they have really good defense like that team. You got Houston and you got Kansas. They have really good defense, but they have offensive weapons, just not good. I mean, they can need more. And if they have an excellent quarterback, which is Tony Romo, if he's healthy, I think they have really good chances at a Super Bowl.
So what about possibly the Arizona Cardinals? I like the Texans' idea. I think that, I mean, with probably the best defense they had in the league last year, they do have weapons with Hopkins and a lot of those players. So I like Houston, but what about Arizona?
They have Palmer
with the
coming
Cardinals?
back,
Yeah,
right?
I know Carson said he was planning on coming back,
back.
but I mean, he's old, he's getting long in the tooth himself, and he was not very good last season.
If something were to happen with Palmer, I just think right now that's such a risk to take on Romo because you do have all that cap space, and it only goes up the next years. I feel like if you're Arizona, you have a good enough option already in Palmer, despite the rough year. I think just to kind of invest that much money in Tony Romo, I think it's more for a team that maybe isn't there. I think Cleveland should invest in Tony Romo.
What?
Okay.
Well, first of all, why
say
would
this.
he? If he gets released, there's no way he's choosing. That's the thing. Tony Romo's going to get to choose his
got-
destiny.
Okay.
Exactly.
But
No one's
receiver-
choosing
I think
Cleveland.
he's gonna choose
Who wants to go to
there.
Houston? Who wants to go to
Yeah,
Cleveland?
exactly.
Besides LeBron
That's,
James and Kennedy Miller.
Yeah.
Those are the only two I know.
You got Corey Coleman, good receiver.
Okay, he
You've
barely played last year.
You've got a somewhat decent O-line. You've made okay.
I don't
I'm
think you can
stretching.
say
It's a
anything
stretch
somewhat
here.
decent in Cleveland.
you
There's no
denied
way you're
Houston.
selling that to Tony Romo.
Yeah.
Houston makes sense because, I mean, it's close. He also doesn't have to uproot his family, right?
Especially if he's choosing. You got to keep that in mind. He's not
He's
getting
choosing.
traded.
If
He
he's
can
choosing.
choose.
So maybe not Cleveland.
Okay, so maybe not Cleveland. Thank you.
I still go Denver. If I'm Tony Romo, I'm saying I saw what Peyton Manning did. You know, he's injury prone. It's not going to be a situation where you're like Dallas, where when he was Dallas, they didn't have the running game that they have now, so it was kind of an aired out offense.
Yep.
He doesn't have to be that in Denver. He can be kind of more low key with it. I think Denver's perfect for Tony Romo.
In my opinion, I feel that if Houston had a good quarterback, such as Tony Romo, say if this was last year and we're talking about this year, they could have beat New England. That's my opinion.
No, yeah, I agree.
I really definitely think they
But what do
could
you do
have
with Brock Osweiler? Because you're already paying $17 million to him. Are you going to take on the $18 million Tony Romo's owed? That's a lot of money
Well, if
in the
he's
quarterback
released,
position.
then you're renegotiating. the whole thing.
Exactly.
That's the good
And-
part about that because they are paying a boatload to Osweiler.
Mm-hmm.
So if they had to trade for him, it seems less likely. But since they're going to get to really get him on at whatever, probably an incentive-based deal. If you play this many games
Yeah.
and we make the playoffs, he'll get more money.
Yeah.
So I think they could pull it off financially. But my question is, what do you think he has left in the tank?
I think he's got a lot. I think, I mean, yeah, he's been kind of like Glass the past few years, getting hurt constantly. But I think the right situation, if he's not a high-stress position, if he's in an offense where he can hand the ball off a lot, I think he's got a lot in him. I think he was one of the most underrated quarterbacks of this generation. I think he never really got the full love he should have had. I think you look at when he was on the Cowboys, he was it. That was all they had. Now that they have all this talent, yeah, a guy like Dak Prescott can come, and it's easy to hand the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott. It's easy to throw it up to Des Bryant.
Yeah.
really just I feel like a competent quarterback would do fine in Dallas. I think Tony Romo is severely underrated.
It was unfortunate that he got injured because if he didn't, I think he could have gotten us, if not as far, but further than what Dak did. So like what he said, if he has a good couple of offensive weapons, he can go far. I don't doubt him at all. I don't care how old he is at 37. Who cares about that? Tony Romo is one of the best, if not almost better than Tom Brady. And when he's healthy, when he's healthy, I will stand up for that.
Well, let's just say he's not as clutch as Tom Brady. How about that? We could probably give you that. But I am a Romo fan.
Yeah.
I hope he goes somewhere good. I'm hoping Houston,
Maybe
possibly
Denver. Or Cleveland.
Maybe
Or
Cleveland. Maybe Cleveland.
Cleveland.
We will see what happens. All right, thank you guys. But you guys need to stay tuned because we are just 2 minutes away from our 5-minute drill. Stay tuned. Welcome back to SportsZone. Joining me now for our 5-minute drill is Dominique Walker and Peyton Russell. Now remember, this is where we give our analysts 5 minutes to run through a handful of Mean Green sports topics. All right, fellas, are you ready? Yeah. All right, we're going to go 2 minutes on the women's basketball team. Dominique Walker, the floor is yours.
Okay, so with the women's basketball team, they had this 5-game win streak, and it's looking pretty well, 3 games on the road, and that's the most games in a row that they've had on the road since 2005. But I don't believe that they're tournament ready yet.
Okay, why not?
Because in these past couple games, they've taken a step back. As you can see, the winning totals for North Texas have mostly been in the 70s. They've won 77, 79 points, 69, 76. But against UTSA this last game, which is a better team in the conference, they only scored 58 points. And it was a close game that went to overtime. And there was a quarter where they only had 5 points. So looking at this game in particular, it takes a step back from what the team has done in the past. But with this winning mentality that they're creating, that creates them a little bit of help. But going against La Tech, who's a team they've lost to previously in the season, I feel like they're going to have a little bit of trouble.
Well, let's take a look real quick of it in the past. You know, the previous 5 games before this win streak, they averaged only 57 points a game. That gave them a 1-4 record. That's not going to get the job done. But now here they are, a huge change. The drive for this team, how committed they are, gets them 5 straight wins. They've averaged, as like you said, almost 72 points a game. You know, huge for them. They've clinched a spot in the Conference USA Championship tournament. Now, whether they're 8th, 7th, 5th, I don't know. It depends what they do in these last 4 games. But, you know, you got to give credit to a couple of key players that have done. You know, Kreiner, Adams, Bradley, they've all done tremendous jobs. I like how this team's doing. They have 4 games left. Hard talent, or hard teams coming up, but I think they can get the job done.
All right, very good. That's 2 minutes. Let's switch over to our track and field team, Mean Green Track and Field. Peyton, why don't you start us off?
Well, it was up and down. Started well for the men, didn't get so well at the end. You know, they finished 10th. The women went most of their way most of the time. They finished 9th. A couple of key talents out there. Brianna Eccles, Conference USA Freshman of the meet, won her long jump meet. You know, a tremendous athlete in general. You know, she was also in the triple jump, the 60-meter dash, all-around athlete there. Some other young talents, 2 sophomores. Blake Skoog finished 3rd in the pole vault, and she had a season best 3.66 meters in her meet.
That's impressive.
That is impressive, you know, because it's like, this is like the biggest meet of their career so far here. And, you know, for them to do that, it just gives them that experience factor, as we've all talked about.
Certainly.
You know, and you also had sophomore Susanna Lynch finish 4th in the miles. She had a season best almost 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. So, again, this young talent, it's a bright future for North Texas.
Right. And I do agree with you on the fact that young talent did produce in this meet, especially how you said Brianna Eccles. Like, CUSA Freshman of the Year, that's a great award.
Tremendous. I mean, it really helps you out.
But the thing with the track team is that this was not their best performance, I feel like. And on a stage where you have to perform at your highest, they did not. And I feel like that's going to be a little bit of a problem leaning towards later in the season coming this spring, especially for the men's team. The men's team only had 1 person that got any honors with Tavon Scallion, who finished 7th in his 60-meter hurdles. And I feel like that's not a good thing for the men's team, especially where the team as a whole, coming back from the Herm Wilson meet, they had 4 people finish in first place and 11 people finished in the top 3. And so you're taking a step back as you get into when you get into circumstances where you need to be better. If you're taking a step back in those circumstances,
so we can agree there's room for improvement.
There's definitely room for the improvement.
Of course. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Final minute. We will go with the North Texas football team. It looks like they got a new coaching hire. Dominic, why don't you let us know?
All right. So yes, Jeff Coons. new coordinator for defense, linebackers coach for the Mean Green. I feel like at the time it's a necessary pick, but I don't feel like it's the best. Coach Luttrell said himself that he's come to the team, Coons come to the team as a high recommendation from Sonny Dykes, who, TCU, and Glenn Chizik from North Carolina, who has relations with Coach Luttrell. But if you look at what Coons has done in the past, he's coached at Cincinnati and hasn't done too well, a team that hasn't done too well defensively. They've gone against teams like Houston, Memphis, Tulsa, and have lost. So I don't feel like it's the best move for the team, and it's going to be a little confusing for a team that's going through transition.
Well, and one thing I like is that he's young, but he's also experienced. He's been with winning programs in the past. This isn't a 1-11 North Texas team that he's coming into. This is a 5-7. This is a defense out there that's competed, that wants to win. They played in a bowl game last year, lost in overtime, but this is a team that wants to win, not just a couple guys out there that are just playing, until their 4 years of eligibility up. And one thing I like about him is that if he can bring that, if his linebackers accounted for 70% of the tackles in 2011, if he can bring that to North Texas, that sets up the secondary and huge factor and can put them atop of the CUSA.
Well, how much of an effect do you think it's going to have on the upcoming season for the Mean Green with them losing as many coaches as they've had this offseason?
Well, not just coaches, but I feel like players is also a
Certainly.
thing that the North Texas Mean Green have lost. And in that linebacker position, which he will be coaching, they've lost Fred Scott, they've lost Courtney Finney, who were key players. So I feel like him coming in, having to teach new talent to be the star players of a team in a transitioning team, that's going to be a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, and it'll, when time will tell, but it'll take time for players to learn how his coaching style is.
Certainly. All right. Well, thank you for the updates on all of our Mean Green sports. Be sure to go out and support all of our Mean Green sporting teams. We got softball season, as we've talked about, track and field, and the basketball teams are still in play. So go support your Mean Green. And that is it for the 5-minute drill. That is also it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts at NT SportsZone. And we will see you right back here next week.